Hey everybody, I'm Francesca Maxime and this is WiseGirl. And I was listening to a lecture with John Kabat-Zinn the other day. He is well known for creating mindfulness-based stress reduction, and he is someone who's been meditating for like 5 decades or something ridiculous, and has definitely been responsible for bringing a lot of the meditation and Eastern practices over here to the U.S. And one of the things that he said in the lecture, I think, is mindfulness is, in a way, being appropriate. And it was sort of interesting to hear him say that, because being mindful, for a lot of people, it's something that they kind of try to separate out from their lives. Like, how can I be mindful of my eating or my food? Or how can I be mindful of the environment and recycle? And they're kind of like things we do, as opposed to how we are. And I kind of just came up with my own way of saying it, and I don't know if this is, PC or kosher or not, but I was like, yeah, mindfulness is kind of just like giving a shit, right? It's sort of having this idea of, I care about what happens. I care about what happens to other people. I care about what happens to my environment. I care about what happens to, my subway. If you're in New York and you're riding the subway and you don't litter, I care about what happens in general. I don't want to inflict harm. I don't want to go ahead and, sort of say things that I think are going to create problems for other people. And I certainly don't want to harm myself in the process either. So mindfulness can be really just giving a you-know-what about life, about things in your life, and all the different little ways that you and I and we relate to one another. Which leads me to the other kind of little thing that came up this week, which is also a wordy kind of a thing, which is, I was listening to another meditation teacher, Tara Brach, talk about Swami Satyananda say that the difference between illness and wellness is the I versus the we. So if you take out the very beginning of each of those words, the focus on the individual, the I part, can lead to illness or disease or not a state of well-being, whereas the wellness, includes the whole, includes more of a community, more of an ability to not only see and interact with others, give to others, share with others, but also to get and be sustained by others. And this time of year, many of us might be singing in a church choir or doing various kinds of service in terms of getting together presents for folks that may otherwise not have them, or some kind of service that we're doing. And we know that in giving, we often get a really great, deep sense of satisfaction. And it could also be localized to our family and our more immediate circle of friends. I know I, for one, often will go on a baking frenzy and give out a lot of baked goods around this time of year, just because it's my way of sharing and also of creating, to be honest. So I think that there's something to that, right? That if we look at these words like illness and wellness, if we think about the idea of mindfulness is not just being mindfulness, but also being heartfulness, of actually giving a crap and wanting to, interact with the world in a way that is meaningful. And also, if we even look at meditation, the meditation part is really less about the me in the beginning, M-E, meditation. And Dr. Dan Siegel, who does a lot of neuroscientific work, he's a therapist, but he focuses on the brain and the mind and what it even is. He talks about weditation. What would it mean to have weditation? And that's, again, the more community-oriented aspects of all of this. So what am I saying here today? Just sort of playing with a different way of looking at some of the words and trying to be a little bit more inclusive and encouraging everybody to think about the fact that the more we can create space and stillness within ourselves, even if that means you're riding on the subway and there's a lot of people around you, and instead of tuning out and sort of saying, ugh, that's them, they're loud, they're annoying, they're whatever, you can kind of tune in and say, this too. Remember your grounded presence. Remember your essential safety. Remember that there's a certain level of gratitude for the job that we're going to, even if it may be problematic in many ways, because it allows us to put food on the table for our family, those kinds of things. All of that creates a certain amount of spaciousness that can enable us to interact in ways that often bring a lot more fruit than when we get into that contracted state and we end up sort of marching around with, this is me meditating, me on my way to work on the subway, the illness and not the wellness, It's about giving a what, and being mindful of not only ourselves and our own situation, but the relational community that we inhabit, whatever that is at any given point in time. So some of the thoughts I invite you to consider, certainly take with it what you will, leave the rest, and feel free to tweet me or comment or whatever. I always love to hear from you. And as we ramp up for the holidays, take it easy.